Now in Anglia, and for the last time in the present series, Bob Monkhouse puts the $64,000 question.
With TV's biggest cash prize, it's the $64,000 question. And here's the master of the quiz, Bob Monkhouse.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And as always, 64,000 welcomes to you from the show that's got the whole country asking one question. When's he going to stop saying 64,000 welcomes to you all? The answer is tonight, because it's sadly the final show of our series. And there they are, our very last lineup. There they sit, our trio for tonight, sitting in the think tank awash with trivia and trepidation. Last week, Sheila Altree, a lab technician from Devon, won our basic 64. Tonight, she's back to try for 800 and possibly 1,600 with her knowledge of Greek mythology. Paul Hammett-Lebrun, a doctor of medicine, last week won £800 on the subject of the solar system. He's back to try for 16, too. And Paul Campion, the former department store buyer turned author, is back to try and break through the 3,200 barrier, answering questions on Enrico Caruso. Hopefully, go to the big 64. Let's wish them all a lucky night. As I've said, this is the last show in this third series, so the producer took me and my wife out for a celebration dinner last night. This swanky restaurant. The 5 Seasons. I thought, why 5? Then I tasted the soup and realized they were including monsoon. Picture that, waiter. I said, I'd like a sweet sherry. He said, if I may, I'd suggest monsieur should have a dry fly. I said, why? He said, you just spilt the soup in your lap. Sarcastic. I said, never mind all that, waiter. I'd like the crab toasted. He raised a glass of wine to my wife and said, your health, madame. And when the meal came, I couldn't eat it. I said, you can take this fish back to the chef and tell him where to stick it. And he said, I'm sorry, there's a steak and 2 lamb chops ahead of you. So, well, I'll accept that. A parting gift. Most children are fascinated by legends and myth stories of weird, forgotten creatures. Ollie Beak, Basil Brush, Roland Rat. Bill Oddie. Our next player carried that fascination on to later life. A 48-year-old lab technician from Bristow, and her particular study is the myths of ancient Greece, and she's back now to try and earn £800 with her knowledge of those myths. Let's give a legendary welcome, then, to Sheila Altree. Walking like a model. Let's step up there. You make me feel so tall and masculine. Because you are petite.
Well, yes.
Gosh. I had a girlfriend once who was shorter than you. Had mud flaps on her knickers. Where do you work, Sheila?
In a laboratory in Oakhampton.
What do you do in the laboratory?
Oh, I set up experiments and wash up after them.
Do you actually do the experiments?
Sometimes.
Gosh, when I was at school, I didn't enjoy experiments in the science lab. The experiments I enjoyed were behind the science lab. Happy memories of the school cert. I wonder where she is now. Are you ready for £100?
Yes.
Then I'd like to give it to you. All you have to do is answer this question. Who sailed to Colchis in search of the Golden Fleece?
Jason.
Jason, and the Argonauts is correct for £100. For £200, I'm going to ask you a 2-part question about a single legend illustrated here. Please look at the screen. In the first part, this nymph fell in love with a beautiful youth, but because she was rejected, she pined away until only her voice remained. Name the nymph.
Echo.
Echo it is. And in the second part, the youth himself was punished by Aphrodite and was made to fall in love with his own reflection in the pool. Name the youth.
Narcissus.
Narcissus is correct. You've just won £200. You're a married lady, Sheila?
Yes, indeed. Married to Anthony.
Anthony?
Yes.
What does he do?
He's a tool maker.
Oh, if you win the big money, I may be on the chisel. For £400, Sheila, I'm going to ask you a 2-part question about daughters of the gods associated with cultivation. In the first part of 2, name the daughter of Kronos and Rhea who was the goddess of corn and patroness of agriculture?
Demeter.
Demeter or Demeter is the correct answer. And in the second part of 2, the daughter of Demeter and Zeus was carried off by Hades to the underworld, where she ate a few pomegranate seeds. For £400, name this girl.
Persephone.
Persephone's right for £400. Well played. Now I have it here. 400. You can take it, Sheila, back to the lab. Temptation.
I'd like to go on, please.
Very good. Here we go then for £800. A 3-part question. Look at the screen, please, Sheila. In the first part of 3, this memorial in London is usually said to represent the Greek god of love. Name him, please.
Eros.
Eros is right, an anagram of Saw. In the second part of 3, this goddess fought the god Poseidon for the land of Attica and won. Name her.
Athena.
Athena. That's correct in the second part. Sheila, in the third part of 3, for £800, figures like this are often seen near fountains. This one represents the son of Poseidon and Amphitrite and was shaped like a fish from the waist down. For £800, tell me his name.
Triton.
Did you say Triton?
I did.
You've just won £800. Well, no, you stay where you are. Because I want to tell you that you've got to decide whether to take that £800 or to go on and try and double it at £1,600. If you succeed, the cash will be yours. But if you fail, you'll walk out the door with just 64. It's up to you entirely. What do you want to do? Do you want to give up or go on?
I'd like to go on, please.
Well, it's that £1,600 question that now faces the 65-year-old doctor from Walsall, who, when he's had enough of examining the bodies of his patients, examines the heavenly bodies of our star system. It's the perfect prescription to take him out of this world. So let's learn everything under the sun from Paul Hammett Lebrun. Oh, I like that. That's a handsome bit of stuff, isn't it? How long would it take, forgive my asking suddenly out of the blue, and this is not a question for money.
I understand.
Just for my information. How long would it take images from the Earth to reach Pluto?
Pluto, at the moment, about 4 hours.
So they won't see this program until about gone 11. Yeah, well, I tell you, if you want to phone them and place a bet on what happens, now's the time to do it. Bet on yourself to win. Then if you do, you'll clean up as soon as the Pluto people get here. £1,600, Paul. £1,600. It's a 4-part question. It's about discoveries made by various space probes. I need 4 correct answers for the 1,600, and as you answer, you'll see a picture form on the video wall, and that will be the subject of a key question. First part of 4. On which planet did Mariner 10 photograph the Colores Basin?
Oh, Mercury.
Mercury is correct. In the second part of 4, Viking 2 landed in Utopia in 1976. On which planet is Utopia?
That's the planet Mars.
It is on the planet Mars, Paul. And in the third part of 4, in 1962, Mariner 2 bypassed a planet and showed that the atmosphere was much too hot for water to be present in liquid form. Name the planet.
Oh, Venus.
Venus is correct in the third part. And now in the fourth part of 4, in January 1986, Voyager 2 detected a magnetic field which is very steeply inclined to the spin axis of its planet. For the £1,600, Paul, name the planet.
Jupiter.
Did you say Jupiter?
Yes, sir.
Paul, I'm sorry, the answer is Uranus. I'm sorry, Paul. You're keeping up such a marvelous pace and telling us so much that everyone loves to know. And you're a man of such infinite knowledge about so many things that I'm disappointed that I can only present you with the £64 that you won originally.
That's
and
all right.
the $64,000 money clip.
Thank you.
You're one of the most interesting men I've ever had the pleasure of meeting, and I hope we meet again.
Thank you, sir.
Right now, I'm going to turn from one Paul to another. And this Paul is going to tell us more about Enrico Caruso. Caruso was center stage for many great performances, but on our show, all eyes are on a one-time department store buyer currently working on his first book. His love of opera in general, but of Caruso in particular, bring him back to try and go through at 32, and then hopefully one more encore. For Paul Campion. Paul, I'd like you to tell me that it's so do Caruso records still sell today?
Very well. A lot have been transferred to CD and they're as popular as ever.
That's marvellous, isn't it?
Wonderful.
Is there anybody with you to support you and cheer you on?
Yes, my oldest friend, Leonora Lawrence, is in the audience.
Well, that's marvellous. Well, Leonora is, I'm sure, wishing you well, as are we all, in order that there will be no distractions to put you off, and so that the only thing you hear is my questions. I must ask you to take your place for the first time tonight in the isolator. If our technical gods are with us, Paul, you should hear only my voice now.
Yes.
For a total prize of £3,200, I'll ask you a five-part question about Caruso's stage performances. I need 5 correct answers, Paul, in the first part of 5. In 1901, in Buenos Aires, Caruso played his only Wagner role. What was it?
It was Lohengrin.
Lohengrin is correct in the first part. In the second part of 5, there were just 3 performances of Lohengrin. What language was used for these performances of Lohengrin in Buenos Aires?
Italian.
Italian is correct in the second part. In the third part, Caruso appeared in the premiere of The Girl of the Golden West. Name the character he played in The Girl of the Golden West.
Dick Johnson.
Dick Johnson, a bandit, is correct in the third part. Now, in the fourth part of 5. In April 1904, Caruso went to a certain city to sing in 2 performances of Rigoletto. He never sang in that city again. Which city was it?
It was Barcelona.
Barcelona is correct in the fourth part. In the fifth part of 5, in October 1895, Caruso appeared in 4 different operas at the Esbeckia Gardens. To pass through the barrier of £3,200, Paul, tell me, in which city were the Esbeckia Gardens?
They're in Cairo.
They're in Cairo. You just got the 3,200. Well done, Paul. Well done. Wonderful. Your eyes are twinkling, those blue eyes are twinkling. Let's take and Paul through the £3,200 barrier. Normally we would invite Paul back next week, but as this is our final show in this series, he's agreed to return in part 2 and play for the big one, £6,400. This is the show that wants to give everybody a break, and here's yours. The myths of ancient Greece have enriched the world's store of literature. Our lab technician from Bristow is hoping they'll also enrich her bank balance as she returns for the second time on this, our final show of this series, to try for £1,600. So let's welcome back our hit on the myths, Sheila Altree. Remind me what you said earlier on. How tall are you?
5 feet exactly.
Very, very proud of that. And I imagine that that has stood you in good stead on many occasions. What jobs have you had, apart from being a lab technician?
Well, I've been a pub bouncer and a morgue attendant.
I'm very glad you survived, because right now I have a question for you worth £1,600. Are you ready to hear it?
Yes, please.
And let's go. For £1,600, I'll ask you a 4-part question about a story set in Crete. 4 correct answers will win you the money. As you answer, you'll see a picture form on the video wall. That will produce a key question at the end. And part 1 of 4. Sheila, name the legendary craftsman of great skill who built a labyrinth for King Minos in Crete.
Daedalus.
Daedalus is correct. In the second part of 4, what did King Minos keep in the center of the labyrinth?
The Minotaur.
The Minotaur or Minotaur, half man, half bull. In the third part of 4, Sheila, name the daughter of Minos who gave Theseus a thread so that he could find his way through the labyrinth.
Ariadne.
Ariadne is correct in the third part. And in the fourth part of 4, Daedalus escaped from Crete with his son by making wings of wax and feathers. But alas, his son flew too close to the sun itself and fell to his death. Name that son.
Icarus.
And Icarus wins you £1,600. These are the remains that still exist at a village on a spur of Mount Parnassus. It was famous for its oracle and the priestess of Apollo who made her pronouncements there. Tell me the name of the place.
It's Delphi.
Delphi, the Delphic oracle. Well, here's hoping we meet again on the next series and we learn more about Greek mythology from Sheila Altree. Thank you. Right now, it's time for our final player on this series. And it's a pretty safe bet that Enrico Caruso would be proud of his aficionado, our budding author, as he returns for the second time this evening to try for the Big 64. Let's applaud his last curtain call, Paul Campion. Paul, I shake your hand and wish you luck. And I am anxious to know when you win £6,400. What will you do with it?
Well, I'm going to use some of it to fund my writing of the book about Kathleen Ferrier.
Yes, good luck with that.
Thank you. And some of it I'm going to give to the Kathleen Ferrier Cancer Fund at University College Hospital in London.
Well, I think that's a marvellous thing. You know that Lenora and we, your dear friend Lenora, and everyone in the audience and all our viewers, I'm sure, are wishing you well.
Thank you.
They will hope those blue eyes will twinkle with triumph in a few moments, but that will be after, in order, once again, not to be distracted by any sights or sounds. We ask you to step into our brain ball, the isolator.
Right.
Once again, Paul, my voice, is it clear, crisp? Can you hear every syllable?
Yes, that's fine, Bob.
Then here we go. I'm going to play you some recordings, Paul, and then I'm going to ask you about stage performances of the same opera that you will hear on the recording. For a total prize of £6,400, I'm going to ask you this 6-part question. I need 6 correct answers. If you want to pass, you just say so. We'll come back at the end. If you fail on any part, remember, you will bring into play a 7th and final part, which I'm holding in reserve. In the first part of 6, Caruso made this recording of Questo Quella in 1908. Please listen. Name the city in which Caruso gave his first live performance of Rigoletto.
Can I pass on that one, Bob?
We'll come back to that. Meantime, we'll move on to part 2 of your 6-part question. Caruso made this recording on the 11th of February, 1906. Please listen. Paul, in which opera house did Caruso first perform in Martha?
At the Metropolitan Opera House, New York.
At the Metropolitan Opera House in New York is correct, in part 3 of 6. Caruso made this recording of Pagliacci in 1907. In the 3rd performance ever given of the opera, Caruso replaced Pagani as Canio. I'm going to ask you in which city this happened. First of all, please listen to this. Wonderful. In which city did Caruso replace Pagani in the third performance of Pagliacci?
Can I pass on that one for the moment?
We'll pass on that and come back to that as well as the other part on which you passed. In the fourth part of 6, Paul, Caruso recorded this aria several times. I'm going to ask you in which city he first performed this opera. Please listen.
Il tuo bel cielo vorrei ridarti le dolci brezze del patrio suol, un regalo aperto sul crin poterti ergerti il trono vicino.
That was the 1911 recording of Celeste Aida, but I want to know in which city did he perform in the opera Aida?
In St. Petersburg.
That is correct in the fourth part. In the fifth part of 6, Caruso's first appearance in Italy in this role was in Naples in 1897. I shall want to know the name of the opera. Please listen, Paul. That was the 1910 recording. Please name the opera.
Can we pass on that one, please,
We
Bob?
can pass on that one and come to all three parts on which you've passed. In the meantime, go to the sixth and I hope final part. In 1908, Caruso gave his first stage performance of this opera. Once again, I'll ask you the city in which this took place. Listen, Paul. That recording dates from 1906, but in which city did Caruso first perform in Il Trovatore?
In New York.
In New York, at the Met. Di Quella Pira from Verdi's Il Trovatore is correct. And now, you passed first on the very beginning of this question. On the first part, I'll repeat it. Please name the city in which Caruso gave his first live performance of Rigoletto.
I think it was Naples.
Naples, at the Teatro Bellini in July 1895 is correct. The other part of which you passed was part 3. In which city did Caruso replace Pagani in the third performance of Pagliacci?
I'm going to leave that one again for a moment, Bob.
In part 5, Caruso's first appearance in Italy in the role of Enzo was in Naples in 1897. Paul, please name the opera.
La Gioconda.
La Gioconda is correct. Back to part 3 on which you passed. Paul, for £6,400, in which city did Caruso replace Pagani in the third performance of Pagliacci?
I think it was Salerno.
Salerno is correct for £6,400.
And that was the last in the present series. Les Dennis returns next week with the new series of Family Fortunes.
If you'd like to be a contestant in the next series of the $64,000 question, please send a stamped self-addressed envelope to the $64,000 question, Lenton Lane, Nottingham, NG7 2NA.